Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks you so much for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Now, before we jump into the training today, just a quick audio check. Please double check you can hear me okay and that your audio settings are configured accordingly. Also, just as a heads up, today's webinar is a one-way broadcast. The broadcast will be recorded though, and a copy of the recording will be sent to you via email a couple of hours after we wrap up. And finally, questions are welcome. Questions are great. We love those. So if you do have questions while we go through the training today, please double check the questions box, submit your questions through that way, and we will be sure to get those answered at the end of the training session. We'll take some time then. So welcome to today's training. My name is Beth Hoffman. We are going to be walking through InfoSparks. This is a brand new member benefit provided to you courtesy of PrimeMLS. This is available to you now. It is available as a free member benefit, and it is a tool that we're going to walk through and talk about how you can use it to your advantage. Quick overview of our agenda. We're going to talk about how you can access this tool first and foremost. That's obviously important. And then we're going to talk about what the tool is. We'll do a full walkthrough of it, and we'll wrap up with some key takeaways, a recap of what we went through, some frequently asked questions, and we will go through some help and training resources as well. Before we jump in, I just want to give a brief intro to what InfoSparks actually is. So InfoSparks is a powerful analytics tool that has been designed for you as real estate professionals. So this is a tool that provides comprehensive market data at your fingertips. It's going to let you create custom charts for your specific market and share those charts out in a variety of ways. So this is a tool that's going to come in handy when you are looking to communicate updates about your market, or just when you're strategizing with clients, going to conferences, however you like to work, InfoSparks can fit into that picture. Now, getting started, how to access the tool. Again, very important. There's a few ways that it has been integrated into your systems that you already use. So this is supposed to be as simple as possible. The first is going to be directly on your main dashboard. Now, under additional links, you're going to see that InfoSparks tile right there. You can click on that and get into the tool that way. If you are working in Paragon, you can also access the tool directly through the Resources tab along the top ribbon, and then click InfoSparks under the main Resources section, that link right there. Now, if you're working in Paragon, you're on an individual listing detail page, taking a look at the property, you'll find that there's also a little InfoSparks widget, a little graph tile there on that actual listing detail page that'll take you into the tool. And what's nice about this is that it's going to take you into the zip code for that property you're looking at. So if you're looking at this property, it'll take you directly into that zip code, which is 03867, and you will be good to go. Now we're going to go ahead and jump in. Whenever you log into InfoSparks directly through the MLS system, it is going to not require you to have a username or password. That's a question we get a lot. You don't have to log in with the username or password. It's going to recognize you immediately. And when you get in, this is what you're going to see. Now, as a brief overview of the tool, it's interactive. It's going to let you click around and do a bunch of things. Along the top is a ribbon with some tabs. We'll go through a couple of these tabs towards the end. The top area right here has a geography tab that says entire MLS. This is going to be where we determine what area we want to look at. There's some filters beneath that are all highlightable. We'll talk about these as well. The main chart is on the center of the screen with some labeling. You can see which metric you're looking at. You can see any sort of nuances that are applied. And then along the bottom are the metrics that you can create charts for. Now, before we talk about these features in more depth, a couple of things that you'll need to keep in mind as you're using this tool and as you're learning about it. First and foremost, this data is coming from PrimeMLS. So any data within Paragon, for within the PrimeMLS system, is what is being captured here. Now, it's not all of the data though. This is going to be residential real estate data only. So you're not going to see any rental data or any commercial data. It's going to be residential data only. Also, the data in this tool is updated every single night through the end of the previous month, and you'll see which month the tool has data up to right at the very side panel there. We're still looking through May of 2025. And data for a new month is released on the 1st of the following month. So you're wondering, when is June's data going to be available? June will pop up here, and that data will be available on July 1st. So just keep in mind, a full month of data is going to be available and released to you in this tool the following month on the 1st. And that's also a good point to call out, that if you log in on July 1st, let's say, to look at June, the data on July 1st might look a little bit different than it does on July 3rd or 4th. And that's simply because things like late status changes or entries or just changes in general that tend to happen the first week of the month could impact how the data looks that very first week of the month. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about the geography tab to start off. This is going to be the first foundation point to building your chart. And that's the aim of this tool here. We're in this tool to create a chart to help others understand what's going on in the PrimeMLS market. So the geography tab right here is going to be clickable. You'll notice whenever you log into the tool, by default, entire MLS will always populate here. So by default, you log in, it's going to show entire MLS. But when you click on that tab, it's going to pull up a list of different regions that you can select from. Now you can scroll through this list if you'd like. It's quite a long list. You can also take advantage of one of the categories down here. So we have categories for county, area, state, city, postal code. There's also a little category here called My Areas. This is a separate feature that we're going to talk about towards the end of the training that actually keeps all of the custom areas you've created housed in one location. And yes, you can create custom areas. We're going to talk about that, like I said, a little bit later on. But these are the areas you can use. You can categorize that way. One of the simplest ways to find the area you're looking for, though, is to simply just type it. And if it's available in the data feed from PrimeMLS and it's available to us, it's going to pop up here. Let's see if I can spell correctly. Portsmouth. We're going to look at Portsmouth to begin. Now, again, this is the first step in building a foundation. So if I'm a real estate agent looking to draw attention to Portsmouth, maybe I want people to know that there's some great homes in the area, families would be interested in this area. This is the first step to getting their attention on this chart. So I'm going to pull it up, and you'll notice, I'll go back to the entire MLS. You'll notice that the chart here updates instantaneously whenever I change between one area to another. So entire MLS looks like this. Portsmouth is going to make that chart look different. And the values on the side panel will change as well. You know, obviously the median sales price data is going to be different in a specific region than with the entire MLS in consideration. So the entire MLS last month, for example, we can see the median sales price of all properties in the entire MLS was $475,000. Now, when we switch over to Portsmouth, you'll notice that that median sales price goes up to $875,000. You'll also notice a percentage change here of an increase of 1.9%. This percentage will always be there. It'll be either an increase or a decrease, and this is going to be an increase or decrease from that same month. So we're looking at May of the last year, so 2024. So we can very quickly see right now that all properties in Portsmouth had a median sales price last month of $875,000, basically a 2% increase from May of last year. And this is something we can easily communicate outward then. We don't really need to go looking for this data super in depth. It's just right in front of us. Now, right now we're looking at all residential properties in Portsmouth, but what if we want to focus in on a specific type of property? We want to look at some specific characteristic. That's where these filters along the top come into play. Now, these filters let us drill down into specific housing type characteristics, looking at things like price range, property type, which is the second one, construction type, square footage, bedrooms, and bathrooms. So if I want to focus in on single family homes in Portsmouth only, I'll go over to this property type category. I'll select single family. And again, the chart has updated, and so has the figures and values in the side panel here. You see that median sales price when I applied the single family filter has gone up quite a bit for homes in Portsmouth. The median sales price last month for those single family homes was 1.2 million, which was a 38.7% increase from May of 2024. Now, I can also apply multiple filters at once. I don't need to limit myself to just looking at single family. If I want to add on a couple of filters, I can do so. So maybe as a buyer's agent, I'm working with the client who's interested in a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom single family home in Portsmouth. I can use InfoSparks here to create that chart, what sort of pricing to expect based on that criteria. So I'm going to keep the single family filter applied here. I'm going to scroll over to bedrooms and I'm going to start with 3 bedrooms. And I'm just going to click it. And now we've got 2 of these filters applied. You can see they're highlighted here with a little blue bubble next to each of them, and the chart has updated. That median sales price has gone down a bit, so that's a positive. It's still up 25% from last year, but it's not the 1.2 million we just saw. It's $905,900 for 3-bedroom single-family homes last month in Portsmouth. Now, remember, this client may also be interested in what they could expect to pay for a 4-bedroom home in this area as well. I could also, or always, excuse me, I could always just go and click the 4-bedroom filter and show them this, and wow, that has gone up to $1.6 million, so that is quite a difference. But even better, I can actually show the median sales price data for 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom single family homes on the same chart. And to do this, I'm just going to click the little plus sign button next to each of the ones that I want to appear in the chart. And then once they're highlighted, little blue bubble is filled in, we're going to click the little breakout arrow button here. And that will, as you can see, break out both of these bedroom counts on the same chart, 2 color-coded lines, showing a visual representation of the price point differences, significant price point differences between a 3-bedroom single-family home and a 4-bedroom single-family home in Portsmouth. So now my buyer, I can sit down with them and I can say, hey, I know you really were looking for a 4-bedroom home, but if Portsmouth is a place you wanna go to, historically speaking, we've got the data here, the 3-bedroom home is going to save you a lot of money. So maybe we either look at 3 bedrooms or we can take a look at a different region instead if you're really focused on that 4-bedroom. Now we've got these 2 filters applied and we're good to go. I want to call out one thing about being creative with this though, because we can be creative. As you can see, this is a pretty creative way of showing some useful information in an interesting way. It is possible to be too creative, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, if I were to keep the single family filter and I were to keep this 4-bedroom filter applied and then go over to another filter, let's say new construction, you're going to see the chart looks like this. It starts in February of 2023, and it doesn't look complete. It looks extremely disjointed. So this chart, you might be wondering what's going on here. Let's say you're using InfoSparks and you see something like this, a strange line that starts abruptly, ends abruptly, doesn't look very complete on this chart. What's happening here is there's not a lot of data behind what you're looking for. Doesn't mean anything's wrong. What it means is that there's not a whole lot of single family homes that are 4 bedrooms that are new construction in Portsmouth. That's simply what that means. So in this case, I know I'm being too specific. I simply need to take a step back, remove some of these filters and broaden my search. Now, you could also see a message instead of a chart that says there is no data available to display for the given criteria. So when you see this message, you also know this is being, or your search is too specific. Take a step back, broaden your search. We always like to say in these trainings that InfoSparks is a great tool for providing a broad level view of market performance. It's not meant to replace your CMA. The data in this tool is aggregate data. So it's figures and values. It is not listing level data. So we just ask that for listing level specifics, continue using your CMA as you ordinarily would. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is that there are 2 filters that you can input your own custom ranges for, and that's price range and square footage. And you know that because each of them have a little custom button next to them that you can click. So we're going to use price range as an example and take a look at this. So we know the median sales price for single family homes in Portsmouth last month was $1.2 million, but the price ranges here, which are dynamic, they change based on the area we're looking at. These price ranges aren't really aligned with that 1.2. We want to see maybe some higher price ranges and see what sort of performance happened based on those ranges. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and click custom. It's going to pop up this little box that shows me Portsmouth, the area I'm looking at. If I click that drop down, I'm going to select custom range, and all of those fields will zero out, available for me to then input my own ranges. So I'm going to go ahead and do some higher ranges. Again, 1.2 million is a median sales price. We want our ranges to be a little bit more aligned with that higher price point. So we're going to go and put these whole ranges in. We'll do 500 to 599, 600 to 699, excuse me. We'll do 700 to 799, and we'll do 800 to 899. That way it's higher up there. It's higher up towards the 1.2. It's maybe going to capture some interest of people, some realistic expectations, people that have the budget, maybe not 1.2 budget, but they have the budget that is getting up there. We have some ranges now. So once you've input those, you're going to click done, and you'll see that they are now available to apply like any other filter. I can apply them as I would individually. I can also select all of them like we just did with the bedrooms. They're all highlighted, and click that breakout button. And now all 4 of them have been broken out on my chart, color coded. And anyone that sees this chart, once I share it, will have a good understanding of what the median sales price performance look like for single family homes in each of these higher price ranges. So this is just something we always like to call out. This is a great way for you to kind of get into the weeds of things and customize things to your liking. Now, we've looked at a single area for Portsmouth and looked at a chart for median sales price data for Portsmouth, but what if I'm interested in helping others understand what Portsmouth looks like versus another area in the market? Well, I can pull up that area in this tab I have right here for Portsmouth, but I could also do something that's even better, which is to use this add an area button instead. So the add an area button is going to pull up a separate tab, and it's going to let me pull up another area. So let's say I want to look at Manchester in comparison. Manchester is going to be pulled up, and now Manchester is color coded magenta on the same chart as the blue line that is Portsmouth, and I've got median sales price data outlined very easily and very digestibly between these 2 regions. Now, something to keep in mind as we look at this chart here, you're going to notice that this custom ranges that we just made are not populated here, nor is the single family filter applied. And this is because whenever you open a new tab to add an area, it's going to kind of reset these filters. So it's not going to carry the filters over from that first tab. So Portsmouth is still going to have these tabs or these customization options open. It's still going to have the single family option open. The Manchester tab we just pulled up will not. So you're going to want to reapply any filters or grab that custom range again. It'll populate right away for you if you need to reapply it in that second tab, just to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. So I'm going to keep the Manchester tab open. I'm just going to click the single family filter. We don't need to look at the custom ranges right now. And this is going to let us know, hey, anybody seeing this chart, if you're looking for a single family home, Manchester is probably going to be your best bet if affordability is a concern. Manchester last month, the median sales price was $460K versus, again, that 1.2 million in Portsmouth. Now, finally, one last note about the add an area feature is that you can add up to 4 at a time, but it's not always recommended. So I'll show you why that is. I'll have the entire MLS in this tab, and then I will pull up, let's say, yeah, this county, ME Oxford. And the chart pulls up. There are 4 color-coded lines. They are broken out for us, but this isn't a very easy to read or assess chart. And the idea behind InfoSparks is that you're taking all of this data and presenting it to people in a way that's easier to understand. People in your network, people in your professional sphere, people in your personal sphere, your clients, whoever is going to see this, you want them to know what they're looking at. And sometimes the charts can look a little bit discombobulated if there's too much happening at once, which is what's happening here when we have 4 areas selected. So if you do use the tool and you find that, with 4 areas, the chart looks like this, it's recommended that you take a step back and maybe limit yourself to 2 or 3 areas. The add an area tab is great for comparing the entire MLS to a single area, Portsmouth to the entire MLS, or comparing Portsmouth to Manchester like we just did, comparing 2 zip codes, 2 counties, just to show one versus another. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to go ahead and shift our focus down to the metrics. So I'm going to use the entire MLS as our little starting point here and shift your focus down here to metrics. Now, the metrics are going to be what you do or use, I should say, to create different kinds of charts. So these are, like any other real estate metrics, going to provide valuable insights into how your specific market is performing in relation to buyers versus sellers. So as you continue moving through the summertime months, it's going to be important to know how you can use the stations or steer them based on the needs of your clients. So the metrics are along the bottom. Each of these is a separate tab, and each of these tabs you can think of as a potential chart. So if you click on the new listings tab, this is a separate chart that you can then share out as its own chart. There's also homes for sale, pending sales, closed sales, the median or average days on market, month supply, median or average sales price, median or average price per square foot, median or average percentage of original price, and dollar volume. Now you'll notice several of these have the option to select median or average, and just a little tip for you, the median is usually going to be your best bet. It's going to be less likely to be skewed by influential outliers. So for example, if you're looking at the median sales price and there is a house that sold for way more or way less than the rest of the homes in that data set, the median will ensure that the values aren't extremely swayed by those nuances. So just something to keep in mind, I like to call out when you're using the tool and you're deciding which metric to take a look at. So let's take a look at closed sales to start. And before we talk about how to talk about these metrics, I do want to point out there's some customization options for your chart. Now, the chart is going to by default show you 3 years of activity. You can see that because the chart starts 3 years ago. January 2022. It'll always start in January, by the way, of whatever the time frame is. You can also see it from this drop down. It'll give you some other options. Maybe you want to look at a shorter time frame, 1 year instead. You can do that. There's some longer options as well, 5, 10, and 15 years. There's also a max option, and the max option is going to give you the most data that is available from the feed. And when you click max, the data goes back as far as January of 2005. So this is 20 years of data. Your market has some of the most data that I've seen. A lot of markets will have, 12 years, 15 years, 16 years, 20 years is pretty impressive. So you have a lot to work with here. And this is why we always recommend when using this, especially when you're using it to assess trends of the past, that you take advantage of one of these longer options. The 10 years, the 15 years are the max, because more data means more opportunities to identify those trends, figure out what happened in the past. Now, speaking of trends, InfoSparks is not going to predict the future. It's not going to guarantee outcomes, but it does provide you with a lot of historical data here. And this is going to let you, again, see what happened previously, what could happen down the line then. And the tab at the very end of the chart is the last customization option that we're going to talk about right now, and that is the monthly option. So right now we're looking at this on a monthly view. That is the default view. And with the monthly view, each one of these data points is a single month of activity. So if we look at July of last year, we can see that there were a total of 2,679 closed sales. That was for the entire month. Now, with the monthly view selected, you're going to notice a pretty evident up and down behavior in the chart where you're seeing closed sales go up around the same time and then start to fall again, with the lowest peaks traditionally, or historically, I should say, excuse me, happening in February without fail. January, February of every single year, the closed sales are at their lowest. And this is because this monthly view is going to show you short-term trends. It's going to let things like seasonality emerge in your chart. So if you're looking for short-term trends, if you're looking for this consistent pattern of behavior, you're going to want to stick to monthly. However, if you want to eliminate these short-term trends and you don't want your chart to show this up and down, obviously its closed sales were higher at this time of year and were lower at this time of year, you can eliminate them by changing to one of these rolling options. There's a rolling 3, 6, or 12-month option. I'm going to select rolling 12-month option here. And the rolling 12-month option is going to make the chart look very different. You can see it smoothed out quite a bit. That up and down behavior is gone. And this is because this data is essentially being annualized. Every single one of these data points, instead of being a single month of activity, is 12 months of activity rolled into one. So last year in July, 24,551. That's 12 months of closed sales activity. That number is much higher than the monthly, which was around 2,000 closed sales for July. So you'll notice when you do select this view, the values behind each data point are going to be much higher. And that's, again, just because each of these data points is 12 months, not 1 month of activity. Now, this view is great for a broad view of the market. You're going to see trends emerge that aren't so obviously associated with seasonality, with the holidays, with cold weather, etc. These are going to be trends that are way more noticeable because it's, again, not immediately applicable to something obviously happening in the short term. So for example, we see closed sales were on a major decline between 07, 08, 09. That is aligned with what was happening with the market back then. We can also see that back in 2021, July specifically at the highest peak, closed sales were at their highest, and this is also aligned with what was happening in the market. It was an unprecedentedly good time for the housing market. There was a lot of activity and growth. A lot of people were selling, a lot of people were buying, rates were low. So this is kind of like a storytelling tool here. You know, instead of just saying closed sales were really high during the pandemic, you have a chart that shows it. Instead of just saying, oh, closed sales fell very hard after the housing market crisis of 07, 08, you have a chart that shows it, and people are going to be able to connect the dots more easily when you do share these charts out. Now that we know what to look at, we know to look at a specific time on the chart, we know to look at monthly for short-term trends or 12-month for the broader trends. Let's take a look at some of these supply and demand specific metrics, because supply and demand, as you know, how they function impacts the bottom line, which for most people involved in the housing market, the real estate transaction process, is going to be prices. So we're going to start with supply. I'm going to change to monthly, which I just did, and I'm going to shorten my time frame to 5 years. And we're going to take a look at a couple of metrics that can indicate how supply has functioned. Now, new listings is one of them. Of course, you've got the new listings metric. This is going to be a good indicator of supply, but there's also a homes for sale tab here, which is inventory. And inventory, of course, is an indicator of demand and can impact those home prices. You know, fewer homes for sale can drive up prices, especially when in combination with high demand, and that would be a seller's market. A surplus of homes, on the other hand, one combined with low demand, can indicate a buyer's market and can drive those prices down. So if we take a look at, let's say, July of last year, as July is approaching in just a few weeks, we can see that the homes for sale, inventory of homes for sale last year in July was 5,032. Now, again, these trends aren't going to tell us what is absolutely going to happen this year or moving forward, but we know that if we take a look at this and we have a starting point, the conditions are similar next month, they could have potentially similar outcomes. So here's the supply for last year, July, 5,032. What about demand? Demand is the other part of the equation that's going to impact what happens with prices. Days on market is a great metric to assess and evaluate demand. So we're going to use the median days on market here, and the lower the DOM, the higher the demand. You know, if it's a low DOM, it indicates that properties aren't staying on the market for very long. Sellers have that advantage. A higher DOM, on the other hand, is going to mean, you know, such as January of this year, excuse me. Higher DOM indicates that the demand isn't as high, it's low, and that properties are sitting on the market longer. So when that happens, it's typically a buyer's market. Buyers have that negotiating power. So if we use July as an example here, we can see it had one of the lower values. 7 days on market, a week. So a week on market is what was happening last July. And what that probably means is that with that higher supply, there's probably a little bit of a shift upward for the price of homes back then. So we can actually see that by clicking the median sales price metric, hovering over to July, and unsurprisingly, you can see that, yep, the median sales price last July, it was higher, not significantly, but higher enough, probably because of that high demand. You know, even though there were a lot of homes, there were still a lot of people trying to sweep up those homes. So the median sales price did go up a bit. So this is just a perfect representation of how supply and demand, which is always working in the background of you know, the economy, of the real estate market, how this is actually coming to fruition, and having a visual guide of it and being able to quickly look at these different metrics that all play into one another is a great way for you to help your clients understand what they can expect about pricing, what they can expect. You know, hey, if you're looking to buy a house when it's extremely low inventory, extremely high demand, you're probably going to pay a premium for that. So it's just a good way to start those conversations and to help guide them. Now, a way that you can actually work with a specific client, specific to buyers, I should say, is using the percentage of original price metric down here. Now, this is a good one to set expectations for. The percentage of original price works like this. If a property is relisted at $180,000, it goes down to $175,000 and sells for $160,000. This metric is taking into consideration that $160,000 sold price to the $180,000 price, not the lower $175,000.
So the idea here is that a value of 100% indicates that whatever that house was originally priced at, that's what it sold for, 100% of what it went up for. Anything over 100, as we can see here, May of 2022, means the seller was in a really good spot. They got more than what it was originally priced for. They're really happy. Anything under, buyers are in a great spot, means they got less. They were able to negotiate a lower price. So a specific example, let's say you're working with a client looking to relocate to a single family home in Amherst. You can pull up Amherst. You can apply the single family filter here. You have a chart now, and you can help them understand what the median percentage of median percentage of original price look like and what they could possibly expect moving forward. So if we look at this chart here, we can see that last year, the median percentage of original price stayed at 100 for all of the summer and most of the fall. It dipped once down to 98.9 in September, but was back up in October and November before finally falling in December and then January. So this is a chart that you could come to the table and say, hey, if you're really focused on Amherst and you really want to get the best possible price, I'm just gonna level set with you. January is probably going to be the time that you're most likely to get that lower price based on the data we have on the table. You know, you can see January of last year was 96.5%. We can go back and see January 2023 was 99.1. The data doesn't lie. So if they are looking to save some dollars, they might want to wait a little bit until they're in a position where they're able to negotiate with those sellers. Now, on the flip side, if you're working with the seller and they're trying to strategize how to price their home, you can use the price per square foot metric down here. Now this one, let's say you're working with a seller who's looking to sell their 3-bedroom single family home in Amherst. They're wondering, what are other similar homes selling for? What are they priced at? Am I pricing this fairly competitively? You can come up here, apply that 3-bedroom filter, and then show them what sort of price per square foot behavior has happened in the past. Last month, it was 324. April, it was 234. What's interesting though is May of, last month was 324. If you look back at May of the previous year, it was 298. So that has gone up quite a bit, which could mean, again, not guaranteed, but it could mean that June might be higher than it was last year at 245. So this is where you sit down and you say, okay, look, this is what we see here. Let's, we don't know for sure yet, but let's make sure that we're pricing this based on the data that we see, just so you're getting the fairest price, especially because in your market right now, there is a high demand. So they're probably, when they put the house up, going to start getting a lot of offers, and it's probably going to be swept up sooner than they realize. Now, last but not least, there is one final customization option for this chart, and that is, instead of a line, using the bar chart view. Now, the bar chart view is different. It's going to showcase trends up to the last 3 years. So you can select 1, 2, or 3 years, but this is a view indicated to help showcase trends of more recent years, up to 3, instead of that longevity, that back to 2005, excuse me. This is going to be a great way to showcase, hey, the last few years, this is what has happened with this metric. And a good way to use this is to, let's say we want to look at the entire MLS and we want to showcase all of these property types here, what the median sales prices look like over the last few years. You can break them out. You have a beautiful chart now to showcase single family, condominium, and mobile manufactured, the median sales price performance between each of these categories for 3 years in a pretty graph. And this is something I recommend using if you're trying to share out information on a larger platform with a larger audience. The bar chart is a great way to do that. It's simple, it's clean, it's an effective visualization for the data that you're looking to showcase. Now comes the fun part. You've created this chart, you've gotten everything you want, and you want to share it now. How do you share it? You're going to start with the share button right here. The share button is going to pop up 2 steps for you to consider. The first is what kind of data you want to share. Static is a snapshot in time. It's going to be frozen. The data as it looks now, right when you create the chart, is not going to change. Live data will change. I mentioned at the beginning of our session that InfoSparks updates every night through the end of the previous month. That means that any changes that happen to the data that are reflected in the tool here will be reflected in the charts that have a live option, so that the figures will change over time. Now, the second step is, how do you want to share it? PDF is straightforward. This is going to provide a URL that you can download, or you can snag this and copy and paste it, put it in an email if you want. You can view it in a separate window, and it's going to be, simply put, a PDF that you can print. This is great for bringing
conferences, client meetings, open houses. It's not going to be interactive, but it's going to have everything you need, including your own branding at the top, which I'll show how you can update this yourself in a moment. The second one is social media and email. I'm going to save this for last because this is the most popular way. Embed is going to let you embed this into your website or blog. When you select it, it's going to give you a snippet of code that you're going to want to grab and put into your URL, starting with the HTTPS. If you have somebody helping you with your website or blog, give this to them, they'll know what to do. And it'll have that chart embedded into your blog or website as soon as somebody visits it. And then finally, CSV is going to download an Excel file of the data. Again, this is raw aggregate data. It's not going to be listing numbers or MLS numbers, I should say. It's going to be figures and values that you can then create custom pie charts for. Now, finally, social media and email, which is again the most popular way, is going to provide a URL that you can share with anybody. And if you click view a new window, this is what it's going to look like. Now, this, on the other hand, compared to PDF, is interactive. So you're going to be able to hover your mouse cursor over it. Anybody that sees it can do this. They're going to see your branding at the top, and you're also going to be able to share it out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. This little plus this out on. Now, finally, at the very bottom of the chart, I want to call out that there is a footnote that lets people know where the data is coming from. As I mentioned, it's PrimeMLS. So today, June 30th, June 30th. Sorry, I just had an audio issue, folks. Sorry about that. So yes, the date stamp will happen here, and you'll always see when that chart was created. Now, the branding at the top, how do you update this branding yourself? It's going to be in the main tool here. When you're in the main tool, you're going to want to click Profile. And from there, you're going to be able to upload a headshot or a logo and update your agent and office information. The only information you cannot touch is your name. We get that from the MLS data feed, and we do not change that for consistency purposes. We want to know whose name is attached to whose chart. Also, if something changes, if you get a new website, if you get a new phone number, this information is not going to automatically update in InfoSparks. You're going to want to come in and manually update it when that happens, just so that your charts are showing the most accurate, up-to-date information. Now, finally, My Areas is the last tool I want to take a look at with you. And I mentioned at the very beginning when we looked at the geographies that there's a little category called My Areas down here. My Areas is a feature, it's this little tab at the top that lets you custom create your own areas. So if an area is not populating, let's say you work in a specific subdivision and it's not populating, I'm just going to put in one from Chicagoland because I know it's not going to pop up. But if there's an area called Schaumburg in your market that you work in, it's a subdivision, no items found, it means that it's probably not defined by the MLS, but that doesn't mean you can't create a chart for it. My Areas lets you do that by showing you this chart. You can click around it, it's interactive, and then zoom in or out to what you're looking for. We're going to go ahead, and you can go ahead and custom create areas. So if you work, let's say in this little subdivision here, you can create a custom shape. Just click and drag. It's very intuitive. Finish your shape. It'll look like this. You can drag it, reshape it to what you want, and then you can save it. And when you save it, you're going to want to do a name that you're going to remember. Again, some people like to use this for areas like subdivisions. Some people like to combine multiple areas. Maybe you want to combine two separate cities or zip codes together. You can do that. And once you have, it's going to populate this green box, let you know how large it is, that square mileage in that area, and how many listings are there. Something to keep in mind, these listings are historical listings. So this doesn't mean that there's 1,500 listings in this region right now. It means since 2005, there have been 1,563 listings. Now you can go back to the map, continue creating your little areas, or you can click see stats and it'll take you directly into InfoSparks again. That area you just created is populated right there. You can start creating charts and customizing them to your liking. And of course, you can always access your charts that you want by clicking the My Areas category down here. All of them will be listed here for you to apply. Now, finally, if you have questions while you're using this tool, because there's a lot here, there's a couple of things that you can take advantage of. There's a tooltip button. This little question mark is going to populate a little blurb for everything that you can do with this tool. Also, user manual and FAQ tab at the top is going to be your best friend. This has a tutorial video. This has our customer experience support email address. You can get in touch with somebody to help with anything you need related to InfoSparks, related to any of our other products. And we have some important things like metric definitions. So if you come in and you're like, well, I remember she mentioned percentage of price, but what was she? I use the exact example from our metrics guide here. When talking about that, you can review that just so you have an understanding. I also recommend when you log in here, take a look at the share section, specifically the shared chart expiration section, because this section is going to make sure that you know how to keep these charts active. They stay active for 6 months by default. They don't stay active forever. You want to be sure that if you're putting all this work into these charts, that they do stay active. So just come in here, familiarize yourself with this, and make sure you know what's going on. Now we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here with some key takeaways. Now, again, InfoSparks is the tool here for you to create custom charts for specific regions. You can compare up to 4 of those regions at a time if you'd like. You can use filters to focus on specific housing characteristics. You want to look at single family homes, you can. Single family 3-bedroom, you can. You want to look at specific price ranges, you can. You can customize those ranges as well. You can identify trends using monthly view, short-term trends for that monthly view, or look at the rolling 12 months for longer or broader term trends, I should say. And all of this is for you to create the charts, share them out, and become the voice of your market. You already are real estate professionals. This is another tool in your toolkit to showcase your expertise to others, either clients or people within the industry, your family, your friends, whoever wants to look at them. Here's some usage examples for you. Now, again, to share your charts, if you want to share on your website, for example, you're going to click that share button and select embed. You're going to grab that code. And on your website, this is what it'll look like. And it'll pop up as a little embedded chart. So anybody that visits is going to see this. If you want to share on social media, same thing, click share. This time you're going to want to select the second option in step 2, which is social media and email. Grab that URL. And here's a LinkedIn example. There it is. It's going to pop up as this little chart. People can see it, and any sort of content surrounding it will have this beautiful visualization to back it. A lot of people like to use X as well. So again, this chart is going to appear in X like this with whatever narrative you're providing behind it. Now also the CSV is a great way if you want to download that Excel file. When you download it, this is what you're going to see. It's not super pretty. It's going to show, whatever the specific characteristics you put in. I have single family for this, but you can always pretty it up. So I prettied this up, made a pretty chart, and it shows a month by month breakdown, which is nice. So homes for sale, there's a value for every single month that you can then review. You can also take advantage of some of the fancier options of Excel by clicking that insert tab at the top, highlighting the data you want to include in your chart, and then click recommended charts. That's going to then let you create your own custom charts outside of the InfoSparks interface. Now, some frequently asked questions we get. This is not commercial data or county records data or rental data. This is PrimeMLS residential real estate data. Data is updated every single night through the end of the last month. We are still updating data through the end of May 31st. Data for June is going to be available on July 1st. Data for July will be on August 1st, and so on. Big question we get, the numbers in Paragon and InfoSparks don't match. So if you come across this, which you probably will if you look at inventory counts in Paragon and then compare InfoSparks and they're different, don't fret, that's to be expected. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. There's filters, differences, calculations, differences happening. Just keep in mind, if you see a bit of a variation between the data in Paragon and InfoSparks, it's normal. If anything looks out of the ordinary though, it's like off by hundreds, please of course reach out to PrimeMLS and they will contact us and we will work with our data team to get you a response. And if you do have questions, reach out to your MLS. Also take advantage of that user manual and FAQ guide. And of course, please post these anywhere and everywhere. Share them with the universe. This is what this is here for. You are, again, the expert in your industry, and this is just another tool to help showcase that. We just ask that when you do share it out, please keep the source citation in the footer of the reports. Now, I like to call this out before looking at questions. We do have a monthly national webinar that we host. It's going to be not for your specific market. It's going to be using a demo site because it's for everybody across the US who wants to come join. But we go over InfoSparks and another tool in this. So if you're interested in joining us for a refresher, we do have one every single month. I've got the dates up. We do have one today. I understand this is very tiring, so today may not work, but we have one next month in August. We have September, October, November, December, etc. So if you need a refresher ever, if you're like, I remember InfoSparks, but maybe I want to jump on and relearn about, how to use those filters or how to talk about those metrics, join us. It's recorded. A copy of the recording will be sent to you, and you'll be able to revisit that. So please check the chat box for the registration link. And then help and training, we have a team of people here at Showing Time who are amazing. They are available 7 days a week to help you. Their hours of availability are up on the screen here, and I'll keep that as I look at questions. Ooh, lots of questions. I love to see this. Thank you, folks. Okay, looks like that was answered. Let's see how. So a question was, did you say all the data is coming from PrimeMLS only, just listings that were entered in PrimeMLS? It's a great question. Thank you for asking it. That is correct. All of the data within this tool, within InfoSparks, is from PrimeMLS. And again, this is residential real estate data. So I was looking in Paragon earlier, and I noticed that there's, of course, rental data and whatnot, rental listings. Those listings are not accounted for in InfoSparks. It's residential listings included in the aggregate data only. Good question. Thank you. And hopefully sharing on the blog, to the person that just asked this, hopefully my example was sufficient enough to share on the blog. You're going to want to click on that embed option. Let's see if I can go back and just show this real quick. Yep, so to share, good question, to share it on your blog or website, just click that share button when your chart is ready, click embed. You're gonna have an option for a PNG or an iframe. If you don't know what this is, Google is great, or if you work with, if somebody can help you out with this, it's pretty simple. Once you have this, it's gonna give you this code right here. You're gonna wanna grab that code starting with the HTTPS and ending with that 300. You're gonna wanna keep the little quotation marks out of it. And then you're gonna put that into your website URL, work with, again, your website admin, your partner, your son or daughter, your grandchildren, whoever it is that can help you with this, a friend, somebody in the office, and they can get this so that when somebody visits your website, they see the chart that you've decided to embed. Okay, so a question was, if I'm interested in all of Massachusetts data, this would not be the correct. If you're looking for all Massachusetts data, this is, sorry about that. Let me back up. This is all of, if the Paragon, then you would need Prime. Sorry about that, folks. I just got a word that I lost, that my audio went out. To answer your question, the person that just asked if all of Massachusetts data is included here. If not, is this the not correct, the incorrect tool to use? The answer is the data here, just to clarify again, is PrimeMLS Paragon data in Paragon. So if all of Massachusetts data is not included in PrimeMLS, it's not going to be in this tool. If you're a member of a different MLS and they do have InfoSparks, then you could always log into that MLS, log into their InfoSparks tool, and then look at the data for those other regions. But to answer your question, if all of Massachusetts is not included in the PrimeMLS data, it's not going to appear in this InfoSparks tool. Thank you for your question. Okay, great question. MLS PIN. I can't say off the top of my head if MLS PIN has InfoSparks or not. We can look into that for you and reconnect with you after this session, send you an email to let you know if that is an available tool. And yeah, we'll connect with you. Yeah, absolutely. All right, there was a lot of information here today. I'm sorry, I know there's a lot to get through, and the beauty of this is that it was recorded, and the copy of that recording is sent to you. So if you feel like things are moving fast, I'm so sorry, we have a lot to get through, but we do have the recording coming your way in a couple of hours, so you can sit down at your leisure with your coffee, with your lunch, with your evening dinner, and rewatch this anytime you want to get, to revisit what we've talked about today. So if we are all set then, I'm gonna go ahead and let you all have a great rest of your day. Again, this is available in Paragon for you now. Enjoy it. Please let us know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.